Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex breaking news update. And today, it is that time of the month, people. We got our first set of spoilers coming for the upcoming Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 23 and the Battle of Boruto versus Jura. It just kicked into a whole different gear because Boruto's desperation to stay alive in the battle, it is ramped up even further, and Naruto's oldest child is having to get a little creative in order to survive. For those of you guys who are curious about when the chapter is going to drop officially, or you're unaware, this month the chapter will drop officially in V-Jump magazine on the 19th, which the chapter can be read for free on the Viz Media Shonen Jump app or on Shueisha's Manga Plus app. Reading these supports the series, particularly over on Manga Plus, where Ikimoto gets a higher royalty share if you read it there, given there's no additional middleman to pay like with the Viz Media app. Though I personally prefer Viz. Dropping that info because every month when I don't say it, somebody's asking, where can I read the chapter for free? Lastly, with the chapter dropping a day earlier, the schedule for this month is going to be as follows. Today, we get the spoilers from Shueisha directly, which this is a Friday, and it's extremely hard to get magazines in Japan on the weekend. The high quality cover for V-Jump magazine is going to drop on the 15th or the 16th. The text leaks and the raw scans, they drop between the 16th and the 18th, which this month also includes the cover for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Volume 5. And then the chapter drops officially on the 19th. Also on my Anime Explained channel, we have an in-depth look at every captain in Fire Force Explained. I highly recommend checking that out. That's going to be linked in the end credits of this video. So with all the announcements out of the way, let's dive into what we have directly from Shueisha regarding this new chapter 2 Blue Vortex. So over on the official Naruto website, they've released the full spread of Boruto versus Jura. And based on what we have, it appears as if we're picking up where the last chapter left off. Jura just made Boruto's rasengan look obsolete by reversing their effects after hearing Boruto explain the jutsu to him, and the narrator told us that Boruto is screwed now that his strongest jutsu had failed. Well, if you thought that was going to stop Boruto, you're absolutely wrong. Just as his father Naruto was a stubborn guy who never knew what it means to give up, Boruto is showing that those Naruto's genetics, they're running extremely strong inside of him, because he's showing that same tenacity that Naruto would have shown. Only unlike Naruto, Boruto's options, they aren't Rasengan, Giant Rasengan, Super Giant Rasengan, Super Giant Rasengan, insert Chakra Nature into the Rasen Shuriken, insert Sage Mode into all those other Rasengans, which, reminder, those are all legitimate names. I'm not trolling Naruto. Tons of creativity from our hyperactive knuckle-headed ninja known as Naruto Uzumaki. So what did Boruto do, you might be asking? Well, Boruto, upon the Uzuhiko failing, he pulls out his sword and attempts to charge forward with an attack to cut down Jura from what appears to be a blindsided attempt. But Jura is too quick, and in the most gangsta fashion ever, he just grabs Boruto by the wrist mid-attack to stop him, putting Boruto in visible pain. Yet Boruto shows that he's learned a thing or two from Sasuke, which, reminder, by Sasuke's words, Boruto has learned Sasuke's entire fighting style, obviously barring any jutsu that require a Sharingan to perform. And so Boruto takes a page out of Sasuke's book. When in doubt, WWSD, what would Sasuke do? He quickly turns a negative into a positive by using the same hand that Jura just grabbed and begin weaving the hand signs for a jutsu, while Jura is of the belief he has immobilized Boruto mid-attack. This should be something you applaud Boruto for, because it harkens back to something that was established in Naruto's manga and goes often overlooked, which clip this out for the people stuck in Naruto Shippuden, blinded by nostalgia, who say that the series stopped being about ninja tactics and trickery, because Ikimoto isn't stopping fights mid-fight to monologue to have characters explain what it is they just did. Because for a series that is 26 years old, the belief is fans, if they've read or watched Naruto, they should be able to pick up on these things without characters having to explain it. But basically, Boruto should be applauded for pulling this off due to it being established in Naruto that only extremely high-level elite shinobi can perform ninjutsu with one hand. That shows a high level skill as a shinobi, which goes back to Sasuke stressing to Boruto before Code struck down Sasuke. Boruto was told, hey, you learned all my jutsu, but you need to keep refining them in order to truly master them. Boruto understood that assignment and is once again pulling off one-handed hand signs for ninjutsu that he's used midway through a fight, which allows for really good versatility, especially if your enemy's not looking at your hand or they have their guard lowered. That alone puts Boruto in a very small class of shinobi, which speaks to how good of a job both Sasuke and Kashin Koji did training Boruto up to this point. However, in spite of Boruto pulling off another purple lightning to shock Jura, releasing so much lightning release chakra it engulfs Jura's entire body, the most he's able to do is surprise Jura enough by the attempted sneak attack to force Jura to release Boruto's wrist from that attack. Basically, think of it like you placed your hand on a hot oven by mistake and you got burned, or you're working out in the garden like I was a couple of days ago and I got a thorn from one of the flowers in my flower bed. They pricked me unexpectedly. In both instances, you're going to immediately take your hand off the source. It's a natural reaction. So the same thing happened here. However, here's what's very interesting. This entire sequence is happening pretty early on in the chapter. Boruto is basically in the same condition he was in following the end of the last chapter, which means he hasn't sustained any more additional damage from the end of the last chapter, which likely means after seeing his strongest jutsu didn't work, he might have taken a page out of Kabuto's book from Naruto Part 1. After Orochimaru warns Kabuto to not get hit by a punch by Tsunade or else it will kill him, Kabuto kept running away off screen to avoid her attacks until he took a food pill mid-fight and then exploits Tsunade's fear of blood. But unfortunately for Boruto, unless he's got a library collection sealed inside of some scrolls for Jura to start reading books, there isn't really a weakness to exploit here. Now, I do want to address something that I've been seeing in the comment section a lot, growing each month, honestly, for roughly 2 years now, basically ever since the awakened Shinju were revealed to us in chapter 4 of 2 Blue Vortex. And I ignored it until now because I didn't think it needed to be addressed, but I've been seeing enough discourse that it's changed my mind. So I see people getting outraged that ninjutsu is working on Hidari and then Ryu and now on Jura. People point out how ninjutsu didn't work on Obito when he became a 10-tailed Jinchuriki, and so they're throwing around my favorite phrase that gets used on YouTube a lot, especially nowadays, which is the word plot hole. Let me restate that. The word of the day is plot hole. Oh boy. Our favorite word, right? You know why it's used so much. You know the damage that word has done, which sees things get labeled a plot hole when a lot of the times the things that people are calling a plot hole really isn't a plot hole when you look at the original source material and not just look at clips. Yes, ninjutsu didn't work on Obito, but there's a clear difference here. Obito is a 10-tailed Jinchuriki utilizing 6-pass power, which 6-pass Sage mode is not 6-pass power. 6-pass power is the collection of power that comes from having the collective chakra, the 9 Biju, which gives you things like truth-seeking orbs, flight, and basically what you saw Obito, Madara, and Naruto each use when they became a 10-tailed Jinchuriki, which again, 6-pass Sage mode, 6-pass power. They're literally defined as two different things, despite Naruto from volumes 71 onward using them simultaneously, because volume 70 is the only time that he's used those powers separately. Video linked in the description box for those of you guys who need more context, figuring out what the difference is between the two forms. So I said to say this, none of that applies to the Jura. Yes, he is the 10-tails incarnated. He is in humanoid form, but he is not a Jinchuriki. The 10-tails can be affected by ninjutsu. We see this in Naruto's manga. The main body of the 10-tails that Obito and Madara were controlling could be tagged and affected by jutsu, and was affected by it multiple times, ranging from Ino briefly taking control via the Yamanaka clan's Yin release hidden jutsu to it being tagged by Cloud Village ninja who are using the Storm Release Kekkei Genkai and the Lightning Release combo attacks where it was in pain while it was being blinded by the attack, to the Stone Village ninja using Lava Release Kekkei Genkai to trap it and burn its body in quicklime while holding it in place, while the Aburame clan worked in conjunction with the Sand Village ninja to use Wind Release to blow their insects into the air in order to take away the sensory ability of the Ten Tails and impair the visual dojutsu of Madara and Obito, to the Sarutobi clan working with the Mist Village ninja to begin holding it in place. I say that to say this: ninjutsu has always worked on the main body of the Ten Tails. This is not a shocking revelation, and this is not that very popular word nowadays. This is not a plot hole. That's why Boruto's Rasengan could affect and damage Hidari, as did both of Sarada's Chidori on Hidari, and now Boruto's Purple Lightning attack on Jura. You don't need Sage Mode to damage these beings. Now, this does bring up a problem for Boruto though. He went through all that trouble for what was essentially a thorn prick on Jura, because that Purple Lightning Jutsu, despite the high volume of the attack, it did nothing to Jura except make him remove his grip on Boruto's wrist, which that shouldn't be a shock. Boruto's strongest jutsu didn't even take down Jura, so nothing else is going to work. But Boruto is still attempting to stay in the fight because he doesn't have a choice. He has to buy time for Konohamaru to lead the others to safety, and then his only option is to pray that he gets time to concentrate long enough to use his Flying Raijin Jutsu to teleport the long distance, which is going to require more time to concentrate since he's not as skilled at the jutsu as Minato or Tobirama. But as Kashin Koji pointed out, and as I pointed out when Kashin Koji was first teaching Boruto the jutsu, in a battle you're not going to have a whole minute to concentrate so you can teleport long distances. Or another weakness that Boruto has, according to the official database, is that when Boruto tries to mark large objects, it requires over a minute for him to make the seal. In a battle, a minute can get you killed. For comparison, a 15-year-old Minato in the Minato one-shot manga, he didn't have a minute when the Four Tails and the Five Tails were in their chakra avatar states and they were preparing to shoot a Bijudama at him and Jiraiya. Jiraiya gave the order to teleport their team to safety, and Minato had seconds to teleport all four of them all the way back to the border of the Land of Fire to safety before the Four and the Five Tails nuked the battlefield seconds later. The boy everyone loves to call a Gary Stew, which isn't the case with Boruto when you actually look at what a Gary Stew is, but we have disingenuous buffoons on various social media who parrot that talking point. Still, Boruto has work to do after this battle when it comes to Flying Raijin, because his lack of proper mastery of the jutsu, it is a problem he's had going all the way back to Boruto Part 1, where he learns jutsu super fast but doesn't truly master them, and it's bitten him in his rear end, and it's a scary thing to think about. When he finally gets this technique down, he's going to be a headache to deal with in battle. Think of Boruto essentially as a better improved version of Minato when this is done, but him performing one-handed seals, it shows that at least with the jutsu that Sasuke's taught him, he's taken it to heart to properly master them, and he did say he was going to work hard to try and master Flying Raijin properly. Knowing how to perform a jutsu is not the same thing as mastering it. Reminder, the chapter drops on the 19th this month, so depending on when we get the raw scans and a translated chapter next week, my review will be out anywhere between the day of the official release to a couple days after, because the chapter review editor needs 2 days to edit the review to maintain the quality of the reviews that you see in all the reviews here on the playlist on the left side of the screen. Or you can click here on the right to check out my new Fire Force video on my Anime Explained channel, which I highly recommend if you're into Fire Force.